Shock value is an important part to the success of any pop star. There's not a better way to gather an audience's attention and create conversation around a project than to do something out of the norm. Perhaps no one understands the value of shock more than the queen of pop, Madonna. Throughout her lengthy career, she always discussed taboo topics in American culture and utilized the controversy in a way that would get people to constantly pay attention to her. While Madonna has had a multitude of controversial moments in her career, nothing will ever come close to the release of her coffee table book simply titled Sex. An 128-page collection of Madonna's erotic fantasies, this would become the most controversial piece of artistic expression by any pop star in history. In this video, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the forgotten tale of Madonna's infamous sex book. Let's get into it. In order to understand the motivation behind Madonna's sex book, it's important to understand that this was not Madonna's first run-in with controversy. Throughout her reign in the 80s, she was constantly pushing the boundaries of what could be discussed and shown in mainstream entertainment. One of her first major controversies was at the MTV Video Music Awards in 1984. After losing her shoe during a performance of Like a Virgin, she ended up seductively dancing on the floor and flashing the audience with her underwear at the same time. Then there was the Like a Prayer music video, which saw Madonna dancing in front of burning crosses and kissing a black saint. The video angered religious groups so much that Pepsi had to pull down a massive ad campaign using her song. The list could go on and on about the things that Madonna did that were deemed controversial by the general public at the time. Yet, with all that controversy, it can't be ignored that Madonna didn't just shock people, she had genuinely good music to back it up. By the year 1990, she would become the most successful female entertainer, racking up $39 million in just that year alone. In attempts to capitalize on that success, as well as gain more control over her career, Madonna signed a $60 million joint venture deal with Time Warner, giving her her own record label and funding for a plethora of side projects, one of them being the sex book. Madonna began conceptualizing the book in 1991 and asked famous photographer and longtime friend Steven Meisel to shoot the photos. Steven, who had previously worked with Madonna on her Like a Virgin album cover, jumped at the opportunity as he had never published a formal book of his own. The pictures in the sex book were mainly shot in Miami and New York, and see Madonna engaging in a variety of extremely explicit BDSM activities with both men and women. A handful of celebrities make an appearance in the book, from model Naomi Campbell to rapper Vanilla Ice. Along with the pictures, the book also contains a collection of sexually charged poems, essays, and stories written all from the perspective of a French actress named Dita Parlot. As the release date for the sex book approached, many wondered how far Madonna would actually take it, and the book started to gain a lot of hype in mainstream media. Madonna would utilize this to her advantage and keep the book under secret operations. Anybody who was even remotely involved in the handling of the book was obliged to sign confidentiality agreements, and if there were any leaks, the FBI was sent out to catch the culprits. To prevent in-store peeping and kids getting a hold of the book, each book was wrapped in a vacuum-packed Mylar bag and stamped on the back with a warning label that said this book was for adults. Since at the time social media didn't exist, if you wanted to see what all the hype was about with this Madonna book, then you'd have to buy one and take a look for yourself. On October 21st of 1992, 750,000 copies of Sex went on sale simultaneously in Japan, UK, France, Germany, and the United States. It was the largest release of any illustrated book in publishing history. Many news organizations went straight to the bookstores to catch the raw reactions of what people thought.
Worth waiting for this month, yes.
I think that there's no denying that that's quality, but I don't find them erotic.
I just think it's pathetic.
I like the pictures in it. They don't offend me, and I'm not embarrassed by them. I'm not shocked by them either.
Oh my God. This is like really X-rated. Double X. Triple X.
It's interesting. I thought it would be a lot more graphic than it is. I mean, it's not tame, but it's a lot less graphic than I thought it would be.
The mania around the sex book was intense, and it was flying off shelves. One day after its release, it sold over 100,000 copies in Europe, England, and the US, quickly grabbing the top spot on the New York Times bestseller list and remaining there for a total of 3 weeks. Critical and public perception of the book varied immensely, as some thought that the photos were anticlimactic, while others thought they were obscene and taken way too far. The press was particularly brutal to Madonna during this time, calling her derogatory names like slut and whore. Despite this, Madonna remained unapologetic and took the stance that she created the book to start conversations about the stigmatization of sex, as well as the oppression of the queer community during the height of the AIDS era. In response to the criticism, she told Vanity Fair, quote, "I don't think sex is bad. I don't think nudity is bad. I don't think that being in touch with your sexuality and being able to talk about it is bad. I think the problem is that everyone is so uptight about it and have turned it into a bad thing when it's not. If people could speak freely, we would have more people practicing safe sex, we wouldn't have people being sexually abused." The release of the sex book coincided with the release of Madonna's 5th studio album, Erotica. It's a concept album that tackles similar sexual themes to the book over house and new jack swing beats. Despite Erotica selling 6 million copies, it was Madonna's least commercially successful album to that point. To add insult to injury, Madonna released a critically hated movie titled Body of Evidence that was so sexually explicit it received a rare NC-17 rating. The combination of all 3 sexually charged projects caused a huge backlash against Madonna. Not to mention, no one was fully paying attention to the music anymore as the controversy was speaking louder. It would take Madonna a lot of damage control and reconfiguring of her image to get the general public back to looking at her work. In a retrospective look at the book, Madonna told Time magazine, quote, "Most people want to hear me say I regret putting out my sex book. I don't. What was problematic was putting out my Erotica album at the same time. I loved that record and it was overlooked. Everything I did for the next 3 years was dwarfed by my book." The argument of whether Madonna should have released the sex book is something that's still discussed in pop music communities and amongst fans. Regardless of whether it was a good or bad career move, it undeniably created history. Till this day, the sex book is the fastest and best-selling coffee table book of all time. Every year since its release, it's been listed as one of the most requested out-of-print books and commonly sells on eBay, with prices going up to the $1,000 range. Madonna is one of the only entertainers ever to shock the world as hard as she did. It's why when the pop stars of today release a hypersexual video or a controversial collector's item, there'll always be that one person in the background stating that old yet valid point, Madonna did it first. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it would be forever appreciated if you liked, comment, and subscribed. Also, make sure to click the bell button so you can be notified when a new video is posted. Right now on your screen, you'll see 2 more flashy videos, so feel free to click on either of those. That's all for now. Thank you guys again for watching, and we'll catch you with the next video real soon.